Now that we've completed a discussion about independent and dependent clauses, what they're defined as, how they're identified, it's now time to see how these clauses become sentences. There are four types of sentences we are ultimately going to discuss. The first two are simple and compound sentences. And as we start to discuss them and you start to fill in your packet, you're going to realize why we took the time to talk about independent and dependent clauses. So, the first sentence we want to talk about today is a simple sentence. And a simple sentence contains one independent clause and no independent clauses. When we look at this sentence, a good rain will help the farmers. This is an independent clause by itself. And as we discussed previously, when we have one independent clause by itself, that's called a sentence. When we look at this sentence, we are trying to identify now what is the subject and what are the verb or verbs that are in the sentence. So, what would you believe the subject would be? The subject here would be rain, not good rain. The word good is an adjective. So the word rain is the subject. Now we need to identify the verb or verbs in this sentence. We have two verbs in this sentence, a helping verb and an action verb. The helping verb is will, and the action verb is help. So we put the V over the two of them, showing a verb clause or a verb phrase in the sentence. Our next example, up for the rebound leaped Reggie. Now, I did this one for a reason because we need to look at different ways that subjects and verbs can be in sentences. So when you look at this 6-word sentence, what do you think the subject of that sentence would be? The reason I chose this example is because what we find is that Reggie is the subject. The rebound is not doing anything. That is the direct object of the sentence. And then the verb is leaped. This example shows that the verb can come first. It does not always have to be subject first. Our last example here is a question. Where are my keys? To identify the subject and verb in this 4-word question, you really need to think of it instead as a statement. Where are my keys? My keys are in the drawer. My keys are locked in the car. So when you think about that, the subject of this sentence is keys. That is what the 4-word question is about. And then when you're looking for verbs, you've got 3 words left here, and there's a linking verb in there, and that would be are. So keys are. In a simple sentence, you can have things that are called a compound subject or a compound verb, or you can even have both. We're going to look at examples of all 3 of those scenarios right now. The first one is chalupas and fajitas are 2 popular Mexican dishes. Now, a compound subject means that more than one word is going to get an S over it. So, of these words in this sentence, this simple sentence, which 2 would you think are going to get an S over them for the subject? The 2 we're looking at are chalupas and fajitas. And then when you look for a verb, we have another linking verb here, and it is the word are. Chalupas are, fajitas are. Notice we do not say that the word and is a subject here, it is a conjunction word. Now let's look at an example where we have a compound verb, one subject doing multiple things. So when you read this sentence, Kelly read The Planet of Junior Brown and reported on it last week. The subject is Kelly. She's the one doing something here, so she gets an S over her name. And then with a compound verb, she's doing multiple things in this sentence. So the verbs for this sentence would be that she read and she reported. Kelly read, Kelly reported. So compound verb, a subject doing more than one thing. Shorter sentence, simple sentence, but still has a compound verb in it. And you could even say a compound subject. So this has both. So the subjects, more than one, of this sentence would be dog, kitten, and the compound verb here would be lay and napped. Compound subject, more than one subject of the sentence. Compound verb, the subject doing more than one thing, or sentences that have both. Now the compound sentence. Again, we come back to our discussion on independent and dependent clauses and why that was so valuable. A compound sentence contains two or more independent clauses and no dependent clauses. Here's an example of an independent clause. Melvin wrote about his mother's aunt. Here's another one. Leroy wrote about his cousin from Jamaica. We want to take these two independent clauses and turn them into a compound sentence. We do that by putting them together and using a conjunction word, also a comma to separate the two. The word and is our conjunction word here that combines two independent clauses into a compound sentence. Remember this chart from our opening discussion on clauses. These are the dependent conjunctions, the ones that combine clauses within sentences. You already have this list on the front of your chart. So let's now talk about some examples of a compound sentence. A variety of fruits and vegetables should be a part of everyone's diets, comma, for they supply many important vitamins. We first find that we have the word for. There's our conjunction word that combines our two independent clauses. Both parts of the sentence make sense by themselves. And both parts of the sentence, before and after the circled conjunction word, have subjects and verbs. They might be simple subjects and simple verbs, or they might be compound subjects and compound verbs. When we look at the first half of the sentence before the circled conjunction word for, the subject would be variety. Variety here. When you have of fruits and vegetables, that is a describing phrase about the variety. So our variety is our subject, and the verbs should be. And then after the conjunction word, we have the subject they and the verbs apply. So there's a subject and a verb in each of the two independent clauses. Let's look at another example here. Catherine's scene is the last act of the play, comma, so she must wait in the wings for her cue. Once again, we've got a conjunction word here with so, and then we find a subject and a verb before the conjunction word, and subject and verb after the conjunction word. So the subject of the first part is seen, and the verb that goes with it is a linking verb, is. Sometimes people say Catherine is the subject here, but it's got an apostrophe S in it, so it's describing whose scene it is. And then when you look for a subject and verb after the conjunction word, you would have she is your subject and must wait. You have a helping verb and an action verb, must wait. So seen is and must wait. One final example here, just to prove that it doesn't have to be two independent clauses only, but we have two conjunction words. We have but and we have and. No one was injured in the fire, comma, but several homes were destroyed, comma, and many trees burned down. Each of these independent clauses has a subject or subjects and verb or verbs. So when you consider what is the subject and verb or verbs in the first part, you would be looking at the subject is one, not no one. Could be no one, someone, anyone. The key word there is one. And then we have a helping verb was and an action verb injured. In the second independent clause, several homes were destroyed. The subject and verb are homes, and again, action and helping were destroyed. And then in the third and final part of this sentence, many trees were burned down. The subject and verb are trees and burned. Not burned down. Burned is an action verb here. So in compound sentences, you can have three independent clauses joined together by conjunctions, possibly. Moving forward, before the next time I see you in class, you've got two sections to do. In exercise 1 of types of sentences, you should be able to identify the subjects and verbs in each simple sentence or compound sentence. And then in exercise 2, you're going to be looking for subjects, verbs, and conjunctions. So once you've done exercise 1 and 2 with independent and subordinate or dependent clauses, we're now moving on to exercises 1 and 2 for types of sentences. So by the next time I see you, all 4 exercises in this package should be complete.